Hey folks, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another one of our weekly Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken discussion videos. And today we are here to talk all about episode 7, I Have to Do It Myself. But before we get into this week's episode, I do, as always, want to give a big thank you to those of you who shared last week's video over on Twitter. At Bubbalubber, at FireOtaku845, and at Janime. Thanks so much for sharing last week's video, you guys, and if you too would like to have your name shouted out in next week's Eizouken video, then be sure to share this video around on the internet, and then tag me at JoJo Talks Too Much over on Twitter, and I will be sure to shout your name out in next week's video. Okay, so getting into this week's video, there are two things that we have to talk about in particular. We gotta address the whole Mizusaki's passion thing, that's probably like the biggest crux of the episode, but we also have to talk about the group working on the project as well. But I'm gonna go ahead and start with the Mizusaki thing. That to me is the most interesting aspect of the episode. And it's funny because this character, I've hinted at this in a couple of videos and a few people have picked up on it. But of the trio, my favorite is Asakusa. Asakusa is the one I find I relate to the most. Kanamori, I think, is the most vital member of the team, and my second favorite, if not my number one favorite. It's usually between Asakusa and Kanamori, but Mizusaki is kind of forever destined to be my third favorite of the trio. Like, she's just not quite at the same level that the other two characters are at, and that's just because I find them more entertaining. With Mizusaki, I find her to be kind of annoying, but not because she's written poorly, because she's written really well. And especially by the time we get to this episode where a lot of things start to add up, a lot of things make sense, and that is such a tribute to Sumito Uwara's writing for Mizusaki as a character. The character writing is really sharp, because at no point, when you really think about it, we've heard Mizusaki say, "I like anime," but she has never said, "I want to make anime." At the very least, I don't remember her ever specifically saying, "I want to make anime." It's always been, "I want to make animation." So for all these episodes, I'm thinking like, okay, if she wants to make anime, why isn't she being a team player? Like, why is she being so frustrating? And now we kind of get a little bit of an explanation into that. And honestly, I think it's a testament to the fact that sometimes the most interesting characters are the characters you just want to shake, you know what I mean? Because Mizusaki is like so frustrating at times, so annoying with her whole like, it has to be me. It's why the episode is titled I Have to Do It Myself, because it's like, I know that you feel like you have to, but oh my god, it is so irritating to hear Mizusaki every week be like, "You don't get it, you won't let me do this on my own, blah blah blah," even though Kanamori's right. You know what I mean? Because it's like, no, you cannot do all of this on your own. We are a team. But at the same time, that's what makes Mizusaki really interesting and at the same time really endearing. Even though she can be frustrating, even though she can annoy me, I still like her because I understand where she's coming from and why she's doing what she's doing, because her whole thing, it's not that she likes anime. She doesn't love like every aspect of anime specifically. It's animation. She likes movement. She's been enthralled with motion since she was a kid, and that makes all of her past actions make a hell of a lot more sense. And in those episodes, I did outright say she's annoying me, but I feel like there's a reason for it, because I know that Uwara, the original creator, is a good writer, because I feel like because of that, I felt like there was no way that it was unintentional. And by the time we get to this, episode 7, it's all clear, it all makes a lot of sense. And Yuasa's direction as well, the way that you sort of get her history at the beginning of this week's episode, and then we sort of get that intercut with the other characters. And then we get one more quick little side note on her character, and it ends with her proclaiming her love for animation, not anime. It just made a hell of a lot more sense. I thought the direction in this episode was really solid. I don't really feel the need to constantly say that the direction is solid in this show, because I feel like that goes without saying. It's Yuasa, so I don't mention it all the time, but because I haven't mentioned it in a couple of videos, I'll say it's a Yuasa show, so the direction's really good. I love that we get to see the moment where Mizusaki's love for motion began, right? Like where she sees her grandma sort of stir tea in a cup, and it's tea, so you know that I was all about it. and they throw the tea, like the remainders of the tea, out into the yard, and Mizusaki can't quite do it, but she wants to see that movement again. It's not the action that she's impressed by. It's not like what is happening or the result that she's impressed with. It's the motion of the tea flying through the air that really catches her attention. And ironically enough, when she's in modeling class as well, she becomes sort of enamored by the way that the models get up and sit down and get up off of chairs, the way that they sort of strut down the runway. It's not that she's impressed with modeling specifically, but just the movement that the models use. And on top of that too, it's not just like, oh, I'm enraptured by motion because I just like to watch it happen. She also is able to take this love of motion and the way that she sees like characters in a TV show stand up as well. She takes that to her grandmother and helps her grandmother sit up and stand up by herself. Well, not so much by herself. Mizusaki's there the whole time. But then she also enables her grandmother to walk with her, like left foot, right foot, all the way down the hall. And like it sort of sparks this like realization in you that it's like, oh, Mizusaki loves motion and she's so passionate about animation because this has been the crux of her whole life. Like her whole life has been enamored with motion. And while yes, that she can be frustrating about her animation at times, it makes so much more sense now. And even though I was already endeared to her character, it made me more endeared to her. Even though she can annoy me, she's still so well written that I just don't care when she does, because I'm like, ooh, Mizusaki, but at the same time, I guess you girl is so good. But with that said, I want to go ahead and talk a little bit about the whole working on the project part of the episode. So we're going to put Mizusaki to the side. We already talked about Mizusaki. Let's go ahead and talk about all the other characters in this week's episode. And there's sort of like three major players now that, three new major groups, I suppose you could say, although Domeki's on her own. But, oh yeah, that's another thing too. I totally thought Domeki was a guy. So, I mean, nothing about my character analysis from last week changed. Like, everything about the character design, I didn't really go into feminine or masculine qualities. At least I don't remember me going into feminine or masculine qualities, but I still stand by everything that I said about Domeki. And we sort of see a little bit more of Domeki here, but again, not quite enough. So I can't really tell if my analysis was right or wrong. We'll see. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go check out last week's video. But in this episode, we see the aftermath of what happened with Domeki, having moved into, I don't know if it's like necessarily adjacent to the Eizouken or if it's in the Eizouken's HQ. It looked like it was in the Eizouken's HQ. Regardless, she sort of feels like a honorary member of the team at this point, helping out with the audio side of animation, or anime. I guess I really need to be more specific when I mention those two, but she's working on the sound section of the anime. And again, I went into it last week, but anime is more than just animation specifically, and it's more than just sound, and it's more than just a script, and it's more than just acting, it's more than marketing, it's more than all of that. It's all of those things combined together to make something wholly unique. And so you need characters like Domeki, you need characters like Mizusaki, and you need characters like Asakusa and Kanamori. Like, you need all of these elements pulled together to make something really dope. And with Domeki sort of being part of this like honorable member, it really is starting to feel like a genuinely honest to God anime squad. Like, they really do feel like a team, like working on an anime instead of just a bunch of kids. Like, I'm actually seeing it come together. And we also get to see like the robotics club being super excited about the anime to the point where they want to voice in it. I mean, they're funding the friggin' thing. Like, it was their proposal, you know, so they were like, well, we want to be in it. We want to be the actors in it. So it's like, okay, fair. I would have got the drama club for this to really sort of hammer home the whole like extended, like how big a crew for an anime production can be, but like, fine, let's use the robotics club. We already have too many characters as it is. That's fine. And I will say too, this also poses some new challenges because they're really excited to be on the team, but they're almost too excited. And some of the voice acting is like layering on top of other actors, and they're trying to make sound effects and they're ad-libbing, and it's just not going to work properly. It's interesting, and it adds a new little monkey wrench into the production, and another monkey wrench into poor Asakusa's brain, because yeah, this is starting to really take a toll on Asakusa. And again, I really relate to Asakusa at times, But I think one of the elements that she's having a hard time coming to grips with is the fact that a director needs to be able to direct. You know what I mean? Like, they need to be able to instill trust. They need to be a leader. They need to give direction when necessary. And sometimes that means being a little bit like abrupt and point blank with people, and that needs to happen with the art club. And the art club's another like group that I am getting really frustrated with, but at the same time I understand. Like, the art club is frustrated because Asakusa gave them a list of instructions and they followed it to a T, but Asakusa at the same time, when she's explaining like, oh, we don't actually need this car here because the car is going to be part of like a cell, like it doesn't need to be in the background, and in fact, like, is there any way to erase that? And the guy, the dude with the glasses in the art club is like, what? Like, bark, 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 bark. And at the same time, though, Kubo, she feels like she kind of gets it a little bit more than the other guy. If you're gonna be like an artist, you're gonna submit pieces to people, and they're going to tell you to change parts of it, and you have to be able to take on that criticism and make corrections. Especially if these artists want to work as background artists in anime, you're gonna get told to make corrections. You're gonna have to change it. It's part of the game. Nobody likes it, but it's part of it. You're gonna have to make corrections every corner of production on an anime, hell, on a comic book, on anything. You're going to need to make corrections. That's just part of the game. However, at the same time, I totally respect where he's coming from, because to him, he poured his heart and soul into this piece of art, and now he's being told to change it. Nobody likes to alter what they've already made and they're proud of. You know, like if you're proud of something and you present it to somebody, like, what do you think? And they tell you like corrections that you need, no matter how strong your self-esteem is, no matter how much you know that they're just trying to help you, it hurts a little bit. So I do get where he's coming from. And the one thing I'll say about the show is that it really nails how chaotic and frustrating working on a project of this scale can be, with this many this many cooks in the kitchen, you know, too many cooks, anyway, it nails it, because there's moments in this episode where I felt frustrated, and every time I did, I was reminded, like, that's how good the writing is, because I feel like I'm a member of the team at points where I'm like, guys, can we focus? I dig it, and I still really dig this show as a whole, honestly. There's some things that, like, some slight concerns I have, specifically with the fantasy scenes. I feel like they're sort of losing their luster because we've seen them so often. But on the whole, I'm still really digging Eizouken. I think it's just a really charming show and really stands out against the other winter anime. With that said, everybody, I'm gonna wrap up my thoughts here. This one's another Orange Peak OT, just like a solid, like, you get exactly what you expect, just a good cup of tea. And with that said, that is a wrap on today's video, so I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, then go ahead and hit that like button, maybe even consider sharing the video around on the internet, and go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you want to stick around and see more content from me. And if you do, be sure to click on that bell icon so that you'll know immediately when a new video of mine comes out. And if you want to go above and beyond, then consider checking out our Teespring store and grabbing yourself a mug, or checking out our Patreon page, which really helps support the channel. And speaking of our Patreon page, I want to give a big thank you to those of you who support the channel over on Patreon. Andrew W., Calvin A., Crowbar of Irony, Daniel G., Digger the Fox, Emily, Ionos, Urza, Ginkotaku, Godzilla Fan, No For Nothing, Maria Teresa, Marshall B., Mirth Mouser, Cell, Shadow Creative, Stephen G., Sakochi, Tristan G., and Veridin. A huge thank you to all of you who support this channel over on Patreon, and if you too would like to join the T Squadron, then be sure to check out the link in the description to check out our Patreon page and get access to our Patreon exclusive Discord for as little as $1 a month. And with all that said, I want to once again thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have an awesome day, and if you are feeling stressed out today, then you go have yourself a warm cup of tea, and I will talk to you all again real soon.